You are listening to Let's Talk Trio on podcasts. Keep up with the latest episodes by downloading the Podbean app or stream episodes via our social media accounts. Search for Let's Talk Trio on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. This episode is sponsored by StudentAccess. StudentAccess, the leader in Trio software. StudentAccess is an online database solution that allows Trio programs to track their students' information, connect with students by text messages, streamline the APR, and work from anywhere, all online, with automatic updates for changes from the Department of Education. Their technical support team includes former Trio staff and has over 50 years of combined experience working with Trio. Make it easier to focus on your priority, the students. For more information and to request a free demo, visit their website at www.studentaccess.com or call them toll-free at 1-800-801-1232. That website again is www.studentaccess.com or 1-800-801-1232. Be sure to share your favorite episodes on your social media by tapping that share button. This is a great way to support the podcast. Now here's your host, Juan Rivas.
Thank you, Amelia, for that wonderful introduction. Hello, listener, and welcome to the season finale of the Let's Talk Trio podcast. This is season 6, episode 26. I am your host, Juan Rivas. In today's season finale of Let's Talk Trio, we have Nelsy Montes-Romero. We previously heard from Nelsy last year as she talked about her experiences with California State University-Monterey Bay and her experiences with the Trio program. Nelsy is a friend of the podcast, and she is back to give us life updates that involve traveling, a recognition award, and graduation. Coming up in just a bit, Nelsy Montes-Romero. A heartfelt thanks to our individual supporters, Angelica Vialpando, Rosario Riley, Dr. Ryan Barone, Dr. Jamie Motley, Dr. Jeff Nepute, Angelica Valdez, Felicia Rivera, Eric LaMaster, Jeff Kahlden, and Jaded Electronics. Thank you to our corporate sponsors, TrioJoblist.com, NOSOTROS Education Center, TheTrioStore.com, powered by Proforma. Visit www.thetriostore.com, your source for Trio graduation stoles. And StudentAccess. Thank you all so much for your continued support of this podcast. You too can be a sponsor of the podcast. Head on over to Patreon and search for Let's Talk Trio. Choose one of 4 patron levels. You can support this podcast for as little as $1 a month. If you own a business and would like to run an ad on our podcast, send us an email at letstalktrio@gmail.com for details. You can also become a supporter with a one-time donation to the podcast business PayPal account. Our business handle is at Let's Talk Trio. Your support helps lift Trio voices. If you would like to nominate a participant, staff, alumni, or advocate to be on the podcast, send us an email at letstalktrio@gmail.com. That email again is letstalktrio@gmail.com. Again, a great episode featuring Nelsy Montes-Romero, a student at California State University-Monterey Bay and Trio Student Support Services Program participant. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode. Hi, Trio Nation. My guest on the Let's Talk Trio podcast is a friend of the podcast and is returning for their second appearance to share about her current adventures. I want to welcome back to the podcast, Nelsy Montes-Romero. Nelsy, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here and just to be sharing my experience and to just reconnect with my Trio community.
Absolutely. How are you doing? How's everything with you?
Okay, so it's December 20th, which means that yesterday I submitted my last final. Yay!
Congratulations.
Thank you. I think this semester has, been a roller coaster for me. I, did a lot this semester, conducted research, did my internship. I presented my capstone, so I am officially done with my major requirements for my collaborative health and human services major. What else happened? My birthday. I celebrated my birthday on the 8th, which is also First Gen Day.
Wow.
So we were able to have a celebration with Trio. So with our trio program, we have like a team monthly meetup. And for the month of November, we decided to make it like a first gen celebration. So they asked me if I wanted to moderate a panel. And yeah, we could talk more about that in a bit. But yeah, just a lot, elections, just finishing my second to last semester. So next semester will be my last semester of undergraduate.
Wow. So you're one more semester to go to finish up just some general education classes, and then you graduate.
Yes, which
Wow.
I've been prolonging for so long. I've been in school for like the past 8 consecutive years.
Mm-hmm.
And so, obviously there's like a lot of emotion involved, a lot of self-awareness, where I'm at now, how much I've grown as a student. I know I talked a little bit about this in my first episode, but after I got academically disqualified from CSUMB, a lot of like, self-reflecting, is education really something that I want to be in, and yeah, I think I've just really grown. I've flourished into just, a student that is very ambitious, that wants to reach for all of her, dreams, her aspirations. And I think I've really done that here at CSUMB.
That's awesome. So your return to the podcast means you have a lot of updates for us, because you had a stole ceremony. You
Yes.
had a lot of things happening just this semester alone.
Yes.
So what are those updates? What's new with you?
Yeah, so I guess I could start from January, right? I applied to a fully funded undergraduate research program at CSUMB called Correct Scholars. And Correct Scholars is a program that's funded through the Correct Scholars or the Correct Foundation. And they, really want to provide students with an opportunity to conduct research, especially if you come from a marginalized community or like a background and you're like a first generation student. And so, I was accepted. Yay.
Congratulations. Yay.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I think like even doing the whole application and really searching for a mentor, I had to really, make those connections and meet with those people. So I was able to find a mentor who wanted to work with me. We worked on, this project for like a whole year. We're about to wrap up in the beginning of January. But yeah, so my research really focuses on public health. And the main purpose of it is to improve health literacy in Monterey County. Monterey County is, we're a pretty large county, but 60% of the residents in Monterey County are Hispanic or Latino, which means that we have a lot of Spanish speakers. And so my project aims to improve health literacy in Monterey County because we do have a large Spanish speaking population. We have to ensure that all the health materials that are created, whether it's, through, a lot of people are active on Instagram or on Facebook, or even when they're coming to the clinic, all of the flyers that you see on the wall, those were created by community health workers. And so we want to ensure, as a community, that regardless of where you come from, regardless of your educational background, that you're able to interpret that information the same way as everyone else.
Absolutely, yes.
And so when you come from, if you come from a community that doesn't have a lot of, resources available to you, or, just even your culture alone, you might have a lot of cultural beliefs, a lot of cultural things that can impact the way that you interpret health information. And health information is not just looking at flyers. It's really, even when you go to the doctor and you're, sitting in front of the doctor and the doctor is explaining to you, your symptoms, if you've been diagnosed with something, it also goes back to like how you interpret that specific information, whether it's given to you on a paper, whether it's given to you orally, all of that is health literacy. So that was like the main focus of my project. But even more, I guess it goes down to like the statistical measurement of, how do you do that? So my mentor and the Monterey County Health Department, they collaborated and they created a rubric that is supposed to serve as like a guideline when they are creating these health materials. And so the official title of this is the Culturally and Linguistically Appropriate Services Standards Rubric. And so whenever a rubric is created, whether it's in education, whether it's in, the psychology field, you have to test for reliability and validity. So the official name for that is Inter-Rater Reliability Analysis. And so for me, I had really fun because I was able to start from the beginning, and I recruited, students from CSUMB who wanted to participate in this study, and they, were given health materials, they rated everything. And then at the end, I was able to compare, like, did they have low agreement or high agreement? And if they didn't have high agreement, why was that? Was it because they came from a different culture? Was it because they speak two different languages and they just simply didn't agree in the interpretation of the rubric? So we did a pilot study in spring, and then now in the fall we did like the real deal. So after we did the pilot study, we tweaked some things on the rubric. But yeah, so right now I just, I've been looking at the data. My 4 raters already completed. They're part of the project, so I do owe them like a little pizza party or something, or a gift card
Yeah.
to Starbucks, because yeah, they're from CSUMB, and they didn't really get paid for this. So I really want to make sure that I at least give them something for participating.
Sure.
And then one of the students that was like a rater that participated in my research study, she's interested in doing research. So I thought it was really cool to give her the opportunity to be a part of a study, to kind of get that experience and, just envision herself in that position, like, oh, maybe I could do this one day. And, she's in a different field, but I thought it was just really cool to have her there. But yeah, so all that to say, that's what I did this past year. I'm working with Dr. Ignacio Navarro, who's the department chair of my major. And it's been amazing, really working with someone. He is from Bolivia. So he's been able to, really sit down with me and provide that like guidance and support, because I did experience a lot of imposter syndrome like doing this research. But he really made me work, because at the beginning, like, I didn't know what health literacy was at all. I didn't know what health equity was. I didn't know anything, because I'm specifically in social work. But this has really provided a different perspective for me to be able to give back to my community in a way that I never envisioned myself doing. So I am considering conducting research in public health in the future, maybe in grad school. But I'm just very thankful for amazing opportunities like this at CSUMB.
Absolutely. And one of the things that you were also recently nominated for an award through TRIO, no?
Yes, I was. I was nominated for an award by the Associate Director of the TRIO SSS programs at Cal State Monterey Bay. Her name is Kirsty Lane, and she has really just been there for me. She's seen my journey. So she was working with TRIO when I was here back in 2015. So she saw, everything, like me as a freshman right out of high school. She got to, meet me and get to know me as a student. But she also saw like me leaving CSUMB, getting academically disqualified. So she has really been there from the start. And so, yeah, so she reached out to me. So I received this award in March. She reached out to me, I want to say like in February. And she told me that because of my story, because of just everything that I have been through, everything that I have overcame, to really come back to CSUMB as a transfer student, as a first generation student, and, to really thrive in academia. And also because of because I've been giving so much back to TRIO, I was also a peer mentor for my community college. And so I did that for 3 years, and then becoming a peer mentor here, she feels like I just really have given back to the TRIO community in a lot of ways. And so she told me that's one of the reasons why she did nominate me. But not only that, but because I really, I guess, have like TRIO ingrained in like everything that I do. Like if it's me presenting somewhere, if it's me talking about just my experience alone, like CSUMB experience, I always talk about TRIO because of how much TRIO has impacted my life in such a positive way. And so, yeah, so she nominated me, and then I received an email a couple weeks later that I was selected, and this was only given to one college student in Central California. So it's like a really big deal. And I went to the West Top conference. So I made my first appearance as a student, not as a professional, as a student. And it was amazing. I had to give like a 2-minute speech. Kirsty created a really cute video about me and why she nominated me. And she was able to go on stage with me. I brought my best friend and my sister for support. And that was just a really cool experience to just be a
That is
part of
wonderful.
that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, And you were also involved in other activities as well. You joined an advisory board. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, so the student advisory board kind of came out of nowhere. It's not
Mm-hmm.
something that I was really looking for, something that just kind of happened. I think it was last year in October. Yeah, they sent out an email to all the CHHS students and they asked who would like to volunteer for an open house for CACMB, to really talk to prospective students that are interested in attending CACMB, interested in CHHS, whether it's public health, social work, nonprofit management, or public administration. And so I volunteered along with two other students. And the department chair was there, Dr. Ignacio Navarro. So I attended that, and that's how I met Moses and Leilani. And we were just all there, together, talking, mingling, talking about our experience. And it was just three of us. I don't know how many students were in our major, but just out of those students, just three of us decided to, volunteer a Saturday of our time or just our day to go do that. So yeah, it kind of happened out of that. Our department chair said, I want to say thank you for that. So let's go to lunch. So we went to lunch on him. He invited us. Thank you, Dr. Navarro,
Awesome.
for that lunch. And so we went there. We talked a lot about, what the major is, what we've been learning about our major, the professors that teach in our courses, the experience of a 3-semester internship. And from that, he just said, do you guys want to meet again? I want to continue to talk about certain things. And yeah, it kind of just flourished out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started meeting every other week, and we kind of just turned it into a student advisory board to kind of get that leadership skills, to enhance our leadership skills. Because, if we were going to be a part of this board, that meant that we had to do a lot of collaboration with one another, working with one another, delegating roles with one another. And yeah, so out of that, we were able to bring to our major a 3-series workshop hosted by organizations that were on campus and outside of campus. So we did that this semester. We had a total of 3, one in September, one in October, and one in November. The most recent one that we had was one that focused on culture of humility. So we had a doctoral intern from the Personal Growth and Counseling Center from campus. And she came in and gave a presentation on what is cultural humility and how we should move away from being culturally competent to becoming, culturally humble. Because one of the things that she talked about was how competency means that you are reaching like a max level of knowledge in one specific thing. Now, when you talk about culture, you can't really have a specific knowledge on culture. Oh, I guess if you are a part of that culture, like for example, for me, since I come from the Hispanic culture, like I guess I can say I am able to learn everything that comes with being a part of this Hispanic culture. But if you're someone that's from a different culture, you can essentially reach full competency because you're not like, first, you're not in that culture. Second, like what is being fully competent in culture? Like it doesn't really make sense.
No.
That's what I learned from like that whole presentation. That's kind of like my takeaway. And so for me, that was very, very interesting. And cultural humility is a word that I have been introduced to through my courses, but I feel like a lot of students in other majors like marine science, biology, I guess in the STEM field, I feel like those are some of the things that they're not really introduced to on campus or even in their classes. So I'm hoping that, CACMB can have like a cultural humility workshop open to all students. We did it just so we can have our students attend the workshop, but I feel like even in the future, it would be good to just have more collaboration with departments, because I feel like even being in college, it's not only about learning that specific discipline, learning everything that it is that has to do with your major. It's also learning about, other people, just being with other people, learning about different cultures. I feel like that's also like one of the things that is really interesting about college, because you can have someone who comes from a different culture, and then all of a sudden you're learning so much about this person and why they do certain traditions and where does that come from. It's just so enriching to just learn about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that we did. And then I forgot to mention this earlier, but we also planned the stole ceremony. Like,
Oh, really?
yeah, us three, me,
Wow.
Leilani, and Moses, we met with the person that's in charge of, the auditorium where we had our celebration. So we
Hmm.
had all the meetings with him. We really collaborated with them. He brought our vision to life. His name's Griffin. Thank you, Griffin, for supporting us during that stressful moment. It was so stressful. But yeah, we were able to bring that, and that's actually the first ever stole ceremony that has been brought to campus by the Collaborative Health and Human Services major. So it's like a first
That's
ever
awesome.
thing, and we're
Yeah.
hoping that it'll continue to be a thing for our students, especially for those students that are graduating in the fall and have to wait a whole semester to graduate in the spring.
Wow. That's awesome.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Are you seeking guidance to enhance your TRIO project's effectiveness and success? Look no further. NOSOTROS Education Center, NEC, is here to empower your TRIO project with expert consulting services. NEC's mission is to promote the effectiveness and impact of TRIO programs. Since 2003, NEC has specialized in providing professional development and in-service staff trainings, allowable cost services, for TRIO projects across the country. The team at NEC, with over 60 years of combined TRIO experience, offers customized workshops and seminars for project staff, compliance assessments, external evaluations, working on and submitting APRs, database customization and training, development of policies and procedures manuals, and project implementation or reorganization services. Additionally, NEC has secured over $774 million in federal funding with a 92% success rate through their live and on-demand proposal workshops, assistance with data collection and review, detailed technical reviews, and comprehensive proposal development services. Join the hundreds of colleges, agencies, and TRIO projects across the country who benefited from NEC's expertise. NOSOTROS Education Center, your partner in TRIO's project success. Visit their website at nosotros.edu.org. Again, that's nosotros.edu.org.
And now, back to the podcast.
Now, and you and I have been connected via Instagram for quite a while now, and I will not ever lie to you, but I check up on you every once in a while. I look at your stories, I look at all the things that you're up to in your Instagram, and I see that you've traveled, you've gone to a lot of places.
I
Can you
have.
tell us a little bit about your adventures?
Yes, of course. Yeah, so I actually studied abroad. I studied abroad in Germany this past summer for 1 month, and that was on purpose because I knew that I wanted to go to Europe, and
Mhm.
I wanted to look for a program that was longer than 1 week because I told myself, how am I going to be on a plane for 12 hours, land in a location, and only be there for 1 week? No.
Yeah.
So it needs to be longer than that. So I chose Germany because it was lengthier, 1 month, but also because of the everything that was integrated into the curriculum. So they had a lot of cultural events for
Mhm.
the students. They had a intercultural competency workshop, which again, they use the word competency, but maybe I'll talk
Mm.
about that later. Yeah. And it was really nice. I actually applied for a scholarship and I was given a full ride scholarship. Shout
Ooh.
out to Kirsty. Again, my trio family just showing up for me. She wrote me a wonderful letter of recommendation, and I feel like that's truly one of the reasons why I got a scholarship. Yeah, so I was awarded the scholarship, and
Mhm.
that same day I purchased my plane ticket. I was like, okay, I'm going. Let's go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was very expensive because I waited a while to get my plane ticket because I just wasn't sure if I was going to get the scholarship, if I was accepted and everything. But
Right.
luckily everything worked out. And I actually traveled to Spain first for 1 week with my best friend Mari. And I was a little nervous about just going to Europe in general, right? Because as a first gen student, it's really hard to process when you're giving opportunities like that.
Right.
And one of the things that I did was really reflect before going, because this is something that I had dreamed of. I have dreamed of studying abroad. If it wasn't in Germany, maybe in Spain and Portugal, maybe even Africa. Like I really genuinely wanted to study abroad while I was in college because I knew that it was going to be a different experience, like taking courses in a different country versus like visiting a country and then coming back. So I knew that it was going to be culturally enriching. And so that's one of the reasons why I decided to like seek this opportunity. And I was supposed to study abroad like last summer, but it didn't work out, financially. I had to say no at that time. But things always work out. Things always work out. Yeah. So so I went to Spain and I felt very comfortable here because I spoke the language, right? It's not exactly the same, but I can understand and I can get around, and I can talk in Espanol. I can understand what they're saying. Obviously, like the accents are very different, because I went to Barcelona for a couple of days and then I went to Madrid. You can definitely tell that there's a difference in the accents, like even in Barcelona and Madrid. So that was also very nice. I went to I saw some dances. What is it called? Flamenco, I think is what it was.
Flamenco, yeah.
Yeah. So I went to a dance and I don't know if that's a appropriate terminology to use, but I went and I saw them dance and it was so beautiful, so romantic. Oh my goodness. I don't know what this is called, but they use like a clapping, like a little thing.
Those little, yeah.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I don't know what it's called, but it was just like so romantic and the way that he was flowing with the music with his partner. And it was just like, oh my goodness, I want to learn how to dance this. So that was also very fun. So that was a great experience. But then, after that came the culture shock, right? So going from Spain to Germany, that was definitely a culture shock for sure. Especially, what I was wearing, I was like, am I wearing the right thing? I was wearing like a shirt, but what are those shirts called that are just like right here? I don't know what they're called.
The wife beaters or the?
Yeah, I guess for women.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
The tank tops or?
Okay, thank you. I don't know why I was blanking out. Tank top. I was wearing a tank top, but it was like a bright color, like purple. And then I got off the plane. I'm like, okay, I'm wearing the wrong thing. Like, I don't know why I'm wearing this.
What gave you that impression though? Like, what gave you the impression that you were wearing the wrong
thing?
Because
just like everyone that was at the airport, like they were just all, covered. They were all covered from what I saw. And that was like the number one thing, like, oh my goodness, am I supposed to wear a jacket? Like, what am I doing wrong? Oh my God. And I like immediately felt out of place. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want to go back. I want to go back to the US. I don't want to be here. But obviously those are regular things that happen, when you are going to a new country.
Absolutely.
So I was expecting it, but I wasn't expecting it to be that intense for me. Because at one point, I don't know, I was just thinking like, why am I doing this? Like, why did I come here? Oh my goodness. But luckily, I just pushed through it. And I had my best friend with me. Like, not everyone has the opportunity to take a friend with them. So she, was able to come with me and provide comfort and support. And she even told me, like, is it just me or like, are we out of place? I was like, yeah, we were out of place. But as soon as we got off the plane, I started feeling like really dizzy, but I feel like it was because of my emotions, like just being overwhelmed. You start hearing them talk in their language and you're like, oh my gosh, I did not understand anything that they're saying. I couldn't even catch on, not even one bit, because the German language is so different from the Spanish language and even like, the English language. It was like, it was so different. But other than that, I would say that part, after I got through like the first 2 days, that's when I started settling in, like, okay, I'm here. We have orientation coming. It's going to be okay. And the one thing that really made me feel comfortable right off the bat when I checked in and did my orientation and did my check-in with everyone was one of the tutors that was assisting with like the check-in, because we had a total of 8 tutors for our students or for the students. I'm talking like if I was working for them. I wasn't working for them. I was one of the students. I have a habit of doing this when I'm talking about the trio program, but her name's Laura and she's from Mexico. So as soon as she saw me, she was like, oh, Nelsy. And she said it in Spanish. And I was like, oh, sí, Nelsy. She's like, ¿de dónde eres? I'm like, oh, pues, soy de México. Mis padres son de México. Oh
Yeah.
my God, no. Like, because you're meeting someone who's from your country in a different country, right? So you just you get like those jitter feelings of like, oh my gosh, this person speaks Spanish. So, we were able to connect. And I feel like that having her there, like from the start to the finish, was just like really nice. Yeah. What else can I talk about? I guess I could talk about my classes.
Yeah, talk about your classes. How did those go? What did you learn? Yeah.
Yeah, so classes, well, my summer classes were very intense. I had classes 8 hours a day.
Oh my gosh, that sounds intense. So
Yeah.
8 hours Monday through Friday, a full-time job, basically.
Basically, yeah.
Wow.
We did have a 2-hour lunch period from 12 to 2. However,
nice.
technically we did have class Monday through Friday, but because my class I took a German history class.
Mm-hmm.
And, in this history class, you're learning a lot about, what happened between like the start of Germany, or I guess like, because I didn't know they had German emperors. So they had 3 German emperors. So I learned from there all the way down to how Germany was divided and why they built the Berlin Wall, the Cold War, the World War I, World War II. It was just like a lot of things, very overwhelming. Obviously,
Sure.
we talked about like the Holocaust and the impact that had on certain individuals, in Germany. So that was like very, very emotionally draining because I had already learned about that in high school or middle school. And I remember reading one of the books by Anne Frank, so I already knew regardless of where I was at, I was going to have to learn about that again. So I was like mentally prepared to learn about that. But because we were taking a history class, they had what's it called? Field trips embedded into like the days. So we took a 3-day trip to Berlin. And that was like I want to say that was my favorite excursion of the whole trip that I had over there. Because it was 3 days. We shared a room with 5 other students. So I really got to know those students because we were sleeping in the same room for 3 consecutive days. And yeah, so we visited the topography of terror. I always butcher it. So I learned about the acts of terror on, certain individuals when the Nazi government, was in power. I went to Point Alpha, which is considered one of the hottest spots in the Cold War between NATO and Warsaw Pact. So I went there, and that was a very emotional experience as well because I saw the American flag. It was hanging in one of the rooms that they had over there because they kind of have like a museum type of thing over there too. I was like, wow, like the country that I live in and that I was born in, like this flag is here in Germany. So it just made me like emotional. And for me, I don't know why, like I can sense energy. And so when I was in those spaces, like I sensed a lot of energy. So that's also, I feel like what made it very emotional for me just to be there. But I wasn't the only one that experienced this. Like a lot of my friends experienced this, and it was, it was definitely enriching just learning about everything. Cultural enrichment activities. What didn't I do in Germany? Oh my goodness. We went swimming. We, played volleyball. We took a dance class, which was kind of like a jazz class in a way, but like more modern dancing-ish. I don't know. Our instructor was from Berlin, so he traveled from Berlin to Fulda, which is where we were staying at. And he taught us like this, just like how to dance and how to flow with the music. And he had us dance in partners. So I think like every 5 or 10 minutes, like we would alternate. So we had to like dance like, with each other. And I feel like that's where I got to know other students too, Because for me, I was like, okay, so I'm not just gonna dance with you without saying a single word to you. I'm going to ask you questions and get to know you more.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so the last partner that I had was my professor for the intercultural competency workshop.
Hmm.
Yeah, like they told us like, okay, for this last dance, like just close your eyes and just dance with your partner.
Hmm.
Like we're like holding each other and just dancing. And then I just felt like such a soothing like energy. And I felt like I was back home when I was closing my eyes. And
Mm.
so I just like dancing with her, it was very nice. And then
Yeah.
after that, she was like, "Did you feel that?" I was like, "Yeah, I did. Did you feel that?" And she's like, "Yeah, oh my goodness." And then a lot of people came up to us and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you guys were really in sync with each other when you guys were dancing. Like we could feel the energy."
Whoa.
Yeah, so it was like a really cool experience to have that. So that was like our dance class. I went to a German musical. I've never been to a musical here at all.
Uh-huh.
Like
Uh-huh.
it's never
So
even crossed my
you've
mind.
never been to a musical here in the United States, but in Germany you went to a musical.
Correct.
That
Yes.
must have been because, and correct me if I'm wrong, you said do you know a little bit of German? I mean, were you able to understand the musical?
So there were, some words that I was able to understand, but the more basic words like
Uh-huh.
mother, like Mutter, I don't know if I'm saying it right.
Mm.
Vater, which is like father,
Hmm.
because they're F's over there, they pronounce them as V's. So Vater, um, yeah, just like some words I was able to catch on. But obviously, since musicals are visual, I was able to kind of just look at them and kind of see like where it's going or what's
Yeah.
happening,
Uh-huh.
based on the context that is there, just visually. But as far as understanding the German language, it was really difficult. Um, but if you want me to talk a little bit of German, I can, because I pretty much memorized what I had to write for one of my finals.
Mm.
So this is what I memorized. Hallo, mein Name ist Nelsy and ich komme aus den USA. I am from the US. Ich bin 26 Jahre old, which is I am 26 years old. And
Wow.
then ich lerne Deutsch, which means I am learning Dutch, or not Dutch, German, not Dutch, German. But it just sounds different, right? Deutsch is German and Deutschland is Germany. And then, yeah, I learned how to say have a good day, but I forgot. Yeah, so that's just a little bit of German for you. That's what I meant.
That's awesome. I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So based on just like everything that I learned in the German class and my beginner's German language class, I was able to put those little phrases or words together, and I got like what the musical was about. So that was really nice. And then I also went to a techno concert, my first concert ever.
Uh-huh.
In techno. I've never even been to a techno concert here in the US.
I was about to ask you, so what is a techno concert? Because I've never been.
So techno is more of like, I guess like a genre of music.
Uh-huh.
So it's very like, um, what is that? Like, I guess like if you see those videos of going to a rave, like you're
Hmm.
raving, like those upbeat like sounds, like dun dun dun. I don't know. It's like kind of like that, but I would say like a notch lower. You're
Uh-huh.
kind of just vibing with individuals or like with your group. I would say that's like the best way that I could describe it if you haven't heard it.
That's a good way to describe it. I like
Yeah.
it.
Okay. Yeah. Because if
Good,
you've
good,
seen
good.
like videos of people raving, it's kind of like similar to that type of music, but like a notch lower, I guess. That's
Hmm.
like the best way that I can explain it.
Right on, right on.
And then the last thing that was very, I guess, very eye-opening and very cool was that I went clubbing in Berlin.
Ooh, clubbing in Berlin. Now, are you familiar with clubs? Like clubbing?
Um, so I don't really like to go to clubs in general. I think I'll
Okay.
go to a club like once or twice a year. Like if one of my friends is having a birthday and they're like, "Oh, let's go clubbing." Yeah, I'll go with you. But it's not like I'll go like every weekend or whatever. I don't know why, but for me, I'd rather just read a book and like read a romantic book or watch a series. So it's not like the first thing that I thought of doing when I like, was in Berlin. But I was
Mhm.
like, how can I be in Berlin and not experience the nightlife? Come on.
For sure. You got to experience the nightlife.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So that was also really cool. Some of my friends, got buzzed, and so I was like really getting to know them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess that was just an amazing experience. Honestly, I could say that was like the highlight of my undergrad.
Wow. That's awesome. So
Yeah.
you've had previous travel experience. What is something you would like to share with the students when in regards to doing international travel? What's something that you would share with them?
Yeah. So I would say, really step out of your comfort zone and just do it. Don't think about it. Just do
Hmm.
it.
So just do it.
Just do it, because if you don't do it and you start second guessing yourself, you kind of lose the excitement of wanting to go. And I feel like for me, I was just like, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And besides that, you want to learn, you want to build like international connections. You want
Absolutely.
to be able to, if it's not in a school setting, just traveling and generally, it really helps you understand just different perspectives of the world, whether you're
Hmm.
going to Mexico, whether you're going to Bolivia, El Salvador, or Africa, Asia, wherever you go. I feel like it's just amazing to learn about different cultures and
Absolutely.
assimilate into a new culture too. Because that's one of the things that I had to do was assimilate into the German culture, right? Because at one point I did catch myself that I was doing certain things that I saw others. So I was like mimicking essentially.
Hmm.
So for me, like when I went into a store, my first thing to do was to smile at everyone, like, "Oh, how are you?" Yeah, they don't really do that over there. So
They
I
don't
had
have a
to
very friendly demeanor.
yeah. So for me, I'm like, okay, now see, just be cool. Don't smile too much because they're gonna know that you're not from here. So so it's just cool to just do like certain things like that because you're like, oh my gosh, like they don't really know that I'm not from here. Like, oh my goodness, like I don't know. For me, that was like really cool that I was able to just like catch on to certain things but also like you do those things, like you might do those things intentionally, but at one point you do them unintentionally because you've been
True.
living there for so long,
Hmm.
especially for me. But back to the advice that I have for students or just anyone traveling, it also makes you appreciate, where you come from. For me, being Mexican American, being born in the US, like I am very appreciative for like all the things that I have here. So just even being in Germany, there's a lot of things that are different, between Germany and the US. But yeah, besides that, there are a lot of valuable things that you will gain in this experience. So friendships, long-term friendships, connections, cultural awareness. So now I can say that I officially have friends in the Netherlands, Mexico, Colombia, Latvia, India, Kenya, Israel. We did have two students from Israel there.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
Belgium, Portugal, Poland, the Czech Republic, Romania, Albania, Georgia, Finland, and other parts of the US. I had to name all the parts because I'm like, I don't want them to come after me that I didn't say
When they
their
hear their
country,
episode, I'm like,
that
hey,
I
you
didn't
didn't
say
mention.
their country in the podcast or in the episode. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So now graduation is literally around the corner. You did a formal celebration, right? You've celebrated the completion of your program, but graduation is still literally around the corner for spring.
Mhm.
I reflect on your first appearance here on this podcast and think, wow, that 1 year, that first time you were here, I was like, one year seems pretty far off, like it's still far away. But here you are, only one semester away from graduation. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling very sad. I'm
Yeah.
feeling, I have feelings of excitement and just sadness. It's coming up so fast, so I can genuinely say I have bittersweet feelings about graduation. I know that the day that day comes, I'm going to feel like a part of me is missing, because I have just grown so much as a student here. I have really found myself in college. I have built like my confidence to just be in higher education. Because higher education was not really built for us. And so,
Mm. Mhm.
that's what I've been learning. So for me, being able to build my confidence that I do belong in academia, that I do belong in these spaces, I feel like that's one of the most genuine things that I have learned about myself. And to also just uplift others with me. And I feel like this is one of the reasons why I really started my Educating Latina IG, because even now, like when I'm walking on campus, I'll have students that are following me and they'll tell me like, oh my goodness, I have you on Instagram and I see like everything that you're doing. And you're like a first gen student. Like, how are you doing that? I'm like, because I tell myself that I belong in these spaces and that all these programs are here to support me and uplift me. And that's just one of the reasons why Trio just has such a special place in my heart. Why I like breathe, live Trio. And I'm wearing
Absolutely.
my Trio shirt.
Oh, look at
It
that.
says peer mentor. Shout out to Alex.
Love
She has been creating a lot of Trio stuff. So we have like a Cricut. Well, I don't have a Cricut. Alex and Kirsty have a Cricut, so they've been creating gear for us. But that's one of the reasons why I just love Trio. I love, the Correct Scholars Program. I love all the communities and just the friendships that I've built here. So then how do I move from having this in my life for the past 3 years to now you're on your own? Now you're responsible for finding a job. You're responsible for, applying to grad school if that's something that you're looking into. For me, I'm taking a year off. I'm not applying to grad school. I need to be true to myself because I've been in school for the past 8 consecutive years, and I just need a rest. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
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 But yeah, I've just grown so much. And I'm so happy into the person that I've become.
So you're working with Trio as a mentor. What is something you learned about yourself?
I would say that one of the things that I learned about myself is that the impact that I have on students, or no, that's something that I learned with my job. Something that I learned about myself is that I honor commitment to the fullest. I am so dedicated to my students and I'm always willing to go above and beyond for them. Whether it's creating a video and teaching them how to log onto their Oasis account and how to look for something, especially for transfer students, when this is their first semester, not knowing how to navigate, the website, how to navigate looking at their financial aid package. There's just so many things that you have to learn how to do. And for me, I'm just so committed to this job. And this is one of the reasons why I feel like, what am I going to do in my life after this job ends? And I know, and I really want to work for a TRIO program, whether that's here at CCMB, Hartnell, MPC, in Gilroy or Hollister. I really want to give back to the community and be an advisor because what a 360 moment to just have that opportunity
For
and
sure.
then eventually, move up and be a director of a program, or, just be in a position where I can make change and facilitate change at a macro level. I feel like that would be like that is one of my dream, career goals. But yeah, so one cool thing that I got to do before leaving to Europe was conducting interviews with students. So students that have been screened that are like, okay, you are eligible for the TRIO program. Now let's have an interview to get to know you, to see if TRIO is a program that can help all your needs. So, that's usually what pro staff do, but I was able to do that as a peer mentor. So I was able to build those skills. I met with more than 20 students and I learned about their story. And honestly, I connected with each and every one of them because for me, I wanted to be very casual because yes, it says interview, but for us, we're just getting to know them, their story, where they come from, how did they learn about TRIO? How do they think TRIO will support them in their undergrad journey at CSUMB? So yeah, each student has their own unique story. and they all have different internal and external factors that influence, their decision to pursue higher education.
Mhm. Absolutely. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Were you going to say something else?
No, that's it.
So one of the things that we talked about, I think in that first podcast episode, is how you felt that CSUMB celebrated First Gen Day. Any updates on that end, on how this year, how First Gen Day played out?
Yes. For those of you who are listening and haven't heard my first episode, please
We'll
go
link
back.
it. We'll link
Please
it.
go back and watch or listen to it, and then come back to this specific spot where you're at. But if you don't want to do that, I'll tell you like what happened last year. Last year, CSUMB celebrated First Gen Day on November 7th. And so it ended up being on a Thursday, and they decided to have the celebration on this specific day because CSUMB has a tradition where every Thursday is Otter Thursday, right? Because Otter is like our mascot. And so they just made it a thing where every Thursday is Otter Thursday. And so in front of the Otter Student Union, which is our student center, they have a lot of departments come out every Thursday to just kind of facilitate activities with students, to give out food, to give out prizes. They had a cool event for International Week. So they had a lot of we have a lot of international students on campus, and they had like a big celebration. So they usually do a lot of those things on a Thursday. So last year it was on a Thursday. They did that celebration, and we had a photo booth. We had a photo props for the photo booth, and we did have food and some activities, and they gave out like first gen stickers, like I am a first gen student at Cal State Monterey Bay.
I love that.
Which for me, yes, like it's great to see that we are at least having something on campus for first gen students, because I think we're up to like 53%. So more than half of our students are first gen. However, I was very upset because this event was combined with Veterans Day. And so for me, when you're looking at Veterans Day and you're looking at First Gen Day, those are two completely different identities. Two different things, right? Because in one, you're honoring those that have served in our country. And for others, you are celebrating like the students that are the first in their family to navigate higher education, to be in this space, to be setting an example for the generations that are coming after them. And so for me, I just felt like, mixing those two identities, like they should have their own day to be like recognized and celebrated. And so this year, Kirsty approached me and told me if I wanted to participate in, holding a primary role in having a first gen celebration. This year it ended up being on a Friday. And so one of the things that immediately came to my mind when I was, offered this was like collaboration. Let's collaborate with other departments on campus. So I have a friend who worked at El Centro this semester, and I reached out to her and I said, hey, can we set up a meeting and talk about, what we have envisioned for our first gen celebration, and to see if you can support us. So I immediately made that connection. I met with her. We discussed it. They were on board. But essentially what we did for our first gen celebration is it was like from 12 to 2, but we decided to do a first gen alumni panel between 12:30 and 1:30, right? And a lot of our alumni, are not here in the area. So it was, convenient to do it on Zoom. So that's what we decided to go for, to do everything on Zoom. And I had the honor of moderating this panel. This was my first panel ever that I moderated. I think I did pretty good. I surprised myself. Again, I just continue to surprise myself in so many ways. But it was such an amazing feeling to just be a part of that panel. Although I wasn't participating, but moderating it as a first gen student. Again, like the first gen identity, like showing up. So El Centro, was able to come, and they were in charge of our photo booth. We had the provost of CSUMB come and attend.
Oh,
Yeah, so he came
that's
in.
cool.
He stopped by. And he took some pictures with us, so that was pretty cool. We had activities, and one of them was like, writing a thank you card to someone who has been a part of your journey, your first gen journey. So yeah, I got a couple of cards, which was like, oh my goodness.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I had a lot of my students there. A lot of the students that I'm mentoring this semester show up. And yeah, it was just amazing to just be given the opportunity to facilitate that panel. It felt so rewarding to contribute in my own way. And again, I just feel so valued and appreciated by Trio and seen by Trio, because they knew that I was really upset about how first gen celebration was handled last year. And they came to me and they're like, oh, do you want to be a part of this? And again, one of the reasons why I love my Trio community, love my Trio program, and love all the individuals that are working with the Trio program.
It sounds like you really elevated the experience of First Gen Day, where you're having a panel, being able to create these meaningful experiences for students, and so it made the event much more memorable.
It did, yeah, and usually for our Trio events, because we are limited and we're only allowed to serve, the students that are in our program. I guess like the word got out that we were having this first gen celebration, and so it became a community event.
Wow, that's awesome. Still awesome in its own way, right? Like that's the purpose, is to build it, and when you get community engagement, that's when you know you've succeeded too.
Yeah, and we were really surprised because we had like over 30, individuals there celebrating with us. It was a really small room, but I think we did the best that we could. So that was like very rewarding. But Juan, I want to ask you, how does your school celebrate First Gen Day?
Absolutely. So great question. Our first generation student group typically puts on the First Gen Day for November 8th. Typically, our podcast gets involved with Colorado State University's First Gen Day, and we're there to collect stories, hear stories. So I think last year we were able to publish that episode. But yeah, traditionally the podcast attends the First Gen Day. The CSU First Gen Student Org really takes the initiative, puts on this put this event on. This is the first year where we got invited to a different institution or a different university. So Metropolitan State University in Denver invited us to go do their First Gen Day. Unfortunately, as it happens in Colorado, especially in the fall, it snowed, and we got snowed out. Initially, the idea was like, we'll still have the podcast come out, and we'll do it indoors, and then campus closed. And so I hadn't even traveled up there. They just notified me. They're like, yeah, we're closing campus. We're just gonna not be able to do it. They tried to reschedule, but it just didn't work with my schedule, and so we ended up just canceling. So hopefully we get another invite next year. I'm leaning maybe Colorado State University again, since that one was more. We feel comfortable and we feel very successful every time we do that one. So
Yes.
maybe another invite again next year. We'll see what happens. But now I'm going to kind of put it back to you, because you were talking about this internship. An internship. Was this a long-term project? Was this something that you've done for a long time?
Yes, it was a commitment of 3 semesters. So, in our collaborative health and human services major, you are required to complete a 3-semester internship and to complete 240 hours of working with an agency. So yeah, for this internship, I really wanted to step out of my comfort zone because I have a lot of experience in higher education with students, with just college students in general. I also have, a little bit of experience mentoring high schoolers, and also, a little bit of middle school students. So I feel like I have a lot of experience with that student population. However, for my internship, I really wanted to focus on a population that I have never worked with. And so I decided to intern for a nonprofit organization in Watsonville, which is about 30 minutes away from Marina. And I worked with foster youth transitioning out of, foster care between the ages of 18 to 24. The Santa Cruz County, provides funding to the Transitional Age Youth Housing Navigation Program, which is located, in Watsonville, but they, serve the whole Santa Cruz County community. And so the purpose of this program is to provide permanent housing to foster youth and to help them, get into, permanent housing, but they also help financially. So there's like a whole process that goes into this, right? They have to apply for a family unification program voucher, which essentially provides them permanent housing for about 3 years. After the 3 years, there is an opportunity to extend for 2 additional years, so a total of 5 years. And yeah, so for my capstone project, I decided to focus on asking directly the community what they would like to see in regards to workshops, because workshops is one of the services that we do provide as an agency, but we had not had a workshop in over a year. And so for me, I knew that I wanted to do like a workshop or facilitate a workshop for these youth. And so I asked them directly, what would you like to see? What is something, that you feel like you need more support with, or that you just need more knowledge on, whether it's financial literacy, whether it's learning how to budget, whether it's learning to apply to community colleges, or, getting involved in education, or how can I get my associate's degree? So I interviewed 3 participants, but I only interviewed the most active ones in the program because the program currently serves 30 participants. But I asked the case managers, like, can you give me 3 names of the students or the individuals that are very active so that I can at least collect some data on like how or what I can create the workshops on. So all 3 of them said like something in financial literacy. And so based on that information, I created my the workshop, and it was called empowering your finances, how to build stability. And so I put together, a presentation of about an hour. I did a lot of investigation because I didn't want to give them a lot of information that was very overwhelming. I wanted to do it in sections. So, what is a budget and what purpose does it serve? Why is it beneficial to have a budget? How do you even create a budget based on, your income? Because a lot of students think that like, oh, well, I'm not working, so I can't create a budget. I don't have income coming in. Well, you do have income coming in because if you get financial aid, that's income.
That's income. Yeah.
Yeah. So financial aid, if you're getting disability or unemployment, like everything that you're receiving, whether it's like cash of, if you're getting paid for, becoming or for babysitting, all of that is considered income. So, I specified all of that in my presentation. But because I implemented this project and I had to set like goals and objectives, one of the goals was to have at least 2 participants attend each workshop. I did 2 different workshops, 2 different occasions, 2 different times. And so, yeah, one of our goals was to have at least 2 participants attend these workshops. And unfortunately, we partially met our expected outcomes. But yeah, out of 4 participants, we only had 25% show up.
Oh, I mean, I think whenever you put out an invite for participants, sometimes the response to that is a little bit lower. At least that's what I found when organizing workshops or anything like that.
Yes. But for me, just having one person show up, it was kind of like difficult to swallow that pill because I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Because we provided gift cards to whoever attended. We provided food and we provided transportation. So I'm like, what else are we doing wrong? Like, why are they not engaging or showing up? But then after I reviewed, like my research design proposal, after I reviewed everything, the 3 participants that I interviewed, I forgot to ask him like, hey, by the way, when are you available to come in for a workshop? Or when are you available to so I even missed like the availability part, which I know through 3 participants doesn't sample for like the whole 30 participants. But I feel like maybe I should have conducted like a pre-survey of sending that out to all the participants and asking them like, hey, if we were to host a workshop, like what times and days work for you? And then based on that information, create it. But it is what it is. I did everything that I could to the best of my ability. I even created Jeopardy. So I did have an interactive game embedded into the 1-hour workshop. So I taught myself how to do the Jeopardy game on Google Slides.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm just so determined. Like if I don't know how to do something, I'll watch videos, I'll look at TikTok videos. I'm like, how do you do this? So that's one of the things that I really do appreciate about myself is that if I don't know something, like I'll go out and learn how to do it. But yeah, so at the end, I was able to give the agency the slide deck presentation. So they have that if they would like to use it in the future. I wrote a 2-page report on, the expected outcomes. Did we meet those outcomes? What are some things that we can change or they can change in the future if they were to host workshops again? And I did give them one recommendation, like it would be ideal to maybe have a hybrid workshop where some people can, come in via Zoom or some people can come in person or just have it on Zoom completely, like completely online 100%. But yeah, so I gave them that 2-page report and then I showed them how to, play the Jeopardy game. I walked them through that and then I gave them the slide deck. And then the final thing that I did was I did give them a 28-minute presentation I recorded myself kind of going through the workshop or through the presentation because we did have a lot of individuals that were not able to attend request the video. And so I was like, okay, on my last day of my internship, actually, I recorded that video. And so they have all those materials, to use in the future. But I think just overall, it was a very enriching experience. Obviously I felt very timid to interact with this population because again, these foster youth have been through so much. And I was just really scared of saying something that would offend them or for them to retaliate against me and say like, you've never been in our situation, like you don't know what it's like. And so I was very timid, so I think the first semester I didn't really have a lot of interactions with the participants because I was very nervous. But then after the second semester, that's when I slowly, was able to accompany the case managers. So I was able to meet with the youth. And because we do provide a lot of housing services, we, help the youth talk to the landlord. So we'll go in person and facilitate the conversation between the landlord and the youth and just, so they can have another layer of support. Because again, a lot of these individuals don't have like family members involved in their lives. They probably only have like case managers that are there like to support them. And so for me, it was really nice to see, that like that light in their eyes, like how happy they would get whenever we would show up and just be there for them to be able to support them. So overall, that internship taught me a lot. And I had a really amazing mentor. Her name's Anissa. She took the time to come to my capstone presentation. And I was able to thank her for just all of her guidance, her support. One of the things that I really liked about Anissa was that she always put me first as a person, then she put me second as a student, and then third as an intern. So for me, she really defined the true meaning of having a mentor. So I'm very happy that I was able to have her in my life. And I asked her like, hey, so how do we transition this professional relationship to becoming friends? And she's like, I really consider you a friend. I'm like, okay.
Aw, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you said you're taking a whole year off before you even consider doing graduate school. During that time, what are you hoping to accomplish?
Wow. I am hoping to get accepted into that 10-week research program at UCLA. I'm applying for it. It's due in January. So hopefully I'll be able to do that, but it's only for the summer, so if I'm able to do that and then I come back, I would like to get a job, working in higher education. That's a plan. But I think I would also like to, get a job just maybe as a community health worker because I've been more interested in public health. Because now I understand the terminology that is used, and I'm like, oh, okay, so this goes back to this, and it's just been really, nice to just learn new things right outside of social work, because I feel like social work and the job that I have in Trio are very similar, right? Because you're doing case notes. I'm doing case notes as a peer mentor, right? So every time I have a check-in with the student, I'm doing case notes at the end and, drafting like a little paragraph of like what happened, what are the next action steps and stuff for this student. So I have a lot of experience in that, but I really want to maybe go out of my comfort zone and do something completely different. maybe become an administrative assistant. I don't know, just we'll see. But I do have another goal after I complete my bachelor's degree. I would like to go back to my community college and get a certificate in translating, so official translation from Spanish to English. I think that would be very beneficial for me because I do speak Spanish fluently, but unfortunately, there's a lot of terminology. Like if I'm in the doctor's office and I see all these terminologies in Spanish, it just doesn't click to me sometimes. So I think just having more classes on just learning how to translate, I think would be beneficial, especially if I see myself, giving back to this community, because again, we have a large population of Spanish speakers. I think it would just be really helpful. But that's something that I would do additionally. So I would have a full-time job Monday through Friday, hopefully, full-time, and then in the evenings go to those classes at MPC. But essentially, I do want to go back. I'm considering maybe getting a master's degree, a dual master's degree. So maybe like master's in social work and public health. So maybe getting those both at the same time, or just sticking to master's of social work, or maybe just public health. I don't know. So that's why I really need that 1 year to just take it off. I was thinking of studying abroad next summer because technically that's because summer still falls under the previous academic year. I could still study abroad next semester or next summer as an alum, but that would be the last time that I could study abroad. But again, like I already had that experience. But I mean, it wouldn't be a bad idea.
Absolutely.
But it would only be for the summer. And then after the summer, the real deal comes and it's like, okay, finding a job, applying, interviews, prepping for those interviews and stuff. So yeah, that's what I have, hopefully moving forward in 2025.
And I know you said that you're also hoping to enter the workforce and all of this, but any set benchmarks or goals, additional benchmark or goals for 2025?
Yeah, I would like to, I guess personal goals, I would like to read more.
Read more. Okay.
Yes, I love reading romantic books, but maybe slowly moving into fantasy or even romance fantasy. I feel like that would be a really cool thing.
Just for leisure, huh?
Yeah, and I think, overall spend more time with my family. I've really sacrificed a lot of time, not being able to spend time with them throughout this whole journey. Because there's times where I go weeks without seeing my mom because I just have things to do back to back to back to back with assignments and getting ready for my exams and my finals. I haven't seen my mom in I think it's been over 2 weeks. So wow. I am definitely going to see her right after this, after we're done doing this right now. But I'm going to go surprise her and see what she's doing.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Nelsy, always a pleasure to speak with you, to visit with you. I'm so glad we were able to coordinate our times to reach. So for the audience, this is our second take of the podcast because the first one was the recording was just not great. So Nelsy, I just want to send my appreciation to you because you were up for a second recording and we were able to reschedule this and really get your updates because I really wanted to get an update from you. So thank you so much for your time.
Of course. Anything for the Trio fam.
So we will need another follow-up episode soon so we can see how check in on and see how things are going. So again, appreciate you being on the podcast. If you're ready, feel free to sign off.
Yes. So hi, this is Nelsy Montes-Romero. I am a participant of the TRIO Student Support Services Program at California State University-Monterey Bay. I am majoring in collaborative health and human services, focusing on social work. Thank you for tuning in. And if you'd like to follow my educational journey, you can find me on IG at Educating Latina. TRIO works.
Are you a participant, alum, or staff of a TRIO program? Do you want your program highlighted? You or your program could be featured in an upcoming episode of Let's Talk Trio. Get a hold of us by going to our Facebook page or Instagram and send us a direct message. Search for Let's Talk Trio. We want to get your story to the public.
That was our guest, Nelsy Montes-Romero, TRIO SSS participant at California State University-Monterey Bay. Nelsy, thank you so much for being on the podcast and for sharing your TRIO story. Remember, if you would like to be on the Let's Talk Trio podcast or know a staff, advocate, participant, or alumni, send us an email at letstalktrio@gmail.com. That email again is letstalktrio@gmail.com. A heartfelt thanks to our individual supporters, Angelica Vialpando, Dr. Jamie Motley, Dr. Ryan Barone, Dr. Jeff Nepute, Angelica Valdez, Rosario Riley, Felicia Rivera, Eric LaMaster, Jeff Kahlden, and Jaded Electronics. Thank you to our corporate sponsors, TrioJoblist.com, Nosotros Education Center, The Trio Store, powered by Proforma. Visit www.thetriostore.com, your source for Trio graduation stoles. And StudentAccess. Thank you all so much for your continued support of this podcast. You too can sponsor the Let's Talk Trio podcast in one of three ways. Become a monthly patron on Patreon. Our base level starts at $1 a month. Become a corporate sponsor by placing an ad on the podcast. Contact us for details. Become a supporter with a one-time donation to the podcast PayPal account. Our handle is @Let'sTalkTrio. I'd like to take a moment to thank our honorary members of the Let's Talk Trio podcast, Roderick Chambers, Tony Ho, Scott Kendall, and Susan Cramp. The Let's Talk Trio podcast team is John Russell, audio engineer, music producer and composer, and post-production editor. Amelia Castaneda, script supervisor, marketing manager, social media manager, and producer. Juan Rivas, executive producer and host. Be sure to follow the Let's Talk Trio podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. This episode was recorded Friday, December 20th, 2024. A heartfelt thanks again to all of you for listening to this podcast. We will catch you on the new season premiering in February 2025. Thank you all so much for listening, and we will catch you at the next season.